SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil. We are not an IT company, but we are doing our darndest.
Yeah.
Instead, we are a really good Jeep business. So we're a few minutes late for our live. Those of you who are streaming right now, first of all, thank you so very, very much for prioritizing us as part of your listening infotainment.
No, let's just be honest here. We didn't want Nate to be first every week, so we
Threw him off.
threw it off. And Joe O'Brien has first.
Ding, 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 ding. So, as I mentioned, my name is Neil with SFJ 4x4 Simpson Family Jeeps, and I'm joined in Grandma's Couch Studio by some venerated individuals.
That guy over there with his sleeveless shirt.
The Italian Stallion got his guns out, and he was working furiously to get us on the live for those folks who prioritize joining us on Monday mornings, and I'll share with you in a hot second why that might be.
Mm-hmm.
And you, sir,
The mad scientist Scott Brown over there on that.
The maddest mad scientist.
the mad scientist, and folks, I mentioned those of you who are prioritizing listening to us in your ear holes at a potentially later date. This, realistically, a podcast is possible because of you guys, and so very successful. We are globally recognized, 90-some countries, 6 out of the 7 continents, and
arguably
it is all for the Jeep community, all for the automotive enthusiasts, and thank you so much.
Apparently my mic was dead, but it should be better now.
Anywho's.
It's going to be that kind of day.
It's Jeff's an uphill battle.
And on that, I feel like I need to do a PSA because I was watching a video this morning and a small guy in a Texas town was rebuilding his garage, and Mr. Cool gave him a mini split. So Mr. Cool,
We'll take
please.
we'll take a scratch and dent at this point.
We're a
We'll-
little
Love
warm.
to be sponsored by Mr. Cool with a mini split.
Yeah, throw us a bone. But if you're listening, take this moment, pause it, whatever you got to do. We need you to leave us a review on on your favorite streaming platform, iTunes, Spotify, Audible, whatever it might be. Spread the message. Let other people know. 5-star ratings preferred, but, whatever, however the spirit moves you, let it rip, and we'd be happy to add you to part of a ongoing contest. Well, and what that is right now is recognizing that our listenership is such that actually has us within the throngs of the top automotive and off-road, infotainment podcasts globally, and yet we actually are not up there with reviews are concerned. And so that's why we want and need to have the reviews. And so recently there would have been a mass email to anyone within our emailing list kind of issuing a fun competition. Part of that competition is you're going to get part of our swag pack, and so you're going to get some limited edition materials, t-shirts, you're going to get stickers, you're going to get some vinyl graphics, but equally, because of the peculiarity of these individuals that you're listening to, or that you have listened to in the past in some way, shape, or form, you may or may not know that one of our... we're not really stuck on, like, social norms of, like... we're okay with saying, like, hey, the cross cross utilization of products. You might know that I love serpentine belts for inappropriate lifting and towing and tugging and that kind of stuff. Seat belts for lifting engines or axles. There's a lot of things that have cross utilization. I'm not one that's really constrained by social norms of much capacity.
Speaking of which, I
Yes.
was really excited. In the latest Harbor Freight ad, you know what's back?
What is back, Scott?
The purple strap.
Oh, he doesn't know.
This garbage purple strap that realistically, folks, is Scott.
It's a tree saver.
It's not a tree saver. It's not, Scott.
Scott likes to believe it is.
What?
But we have used it on his old building to
We
pull
did.
metal apart, and it did slice it up pretty good. But
So if you've listened to some of the podcasts, you've been familiar with some of our YouTube content and whatnot, you'll know that Scott has this particular Harbor Freight strap that is technically like a lifting strap,
It's small and it's purple. It fits underneath your driver's seat. Really nice.
and it is one of Scott's favorite recovery multi-purpose utilization. It's so much so that as a gag gift of sorts, you gifted all of the staff at SFJ 4x4 this purple strap.
I did.
It was pretty epic, right?
yeah, we
Now-
actually had a counter going on our whiteboard for how many uses we used for that purple strap.
And the worst part is we actually gave up using the counter because we found ourselves using this dumb purple strap so much.
It's so great, and it's literally like under $10.
So, folks, Scott doesn't know.
Scotty
As
doesn't
part,
know.
Scotty,
I hated
as,
that in high school.
As part of this swag giveaway for leaving us a review, I have gone out and I have purchased the Mad Scientist's favorite garbage strap that you never knew you needed in your recovery cross-purpose utilization kit of garage Jeep equipment. And this will be going into our podcast contest
You know,
for...
what, know what's the best part, guys? We did not plan that.
No,
was
that's
just-
why I was laughing when you brought it up.
I was
because
just
I'm like, he
genuinely
has no
excited
idea.
because the coupons came out and it was like $7. I was like, oh, it's back in stock. I need to like stock up
Because it went away for
it
a
went
while.
away and I was like panicked.
They pulled it from their SKUs.
Yeah.
As a little bit of a Harbor Freight junkie myself, I have an appreciation and I follow the number of trends. I'm a tool guy and I follow the tool
Yeah.
truck. I'm a lot of things, I'll be honest, folks. But I got called a nerd multiple times in the past 3 days or so, and I'm like, it's just not really somewhat part of my self-description, but apparently I am. Regardless, I'm in a bunch of the tool groups, and I saw that this one made its back, and I thought made its way back into Harbor Freight SKUs. And I thought with this giveaway that we're doing for people who are leaving us reviews, not only are we going to include some more swag, but in honor of the Mad Scientist,
I love it.
we're going to be giving away the most useful, worthless purple strap that you can add to your collection. And actually, we have two of these because we're going to be running this contest for a little while. So we might be giving away a couple different, packages of swag and funsies.
And we are going to read those reviews on air as we get them, but I'm going to jump to the comments first, and then we'll read the couple reviews that already came in. So, again, Joe O'Brien was first this morning, then Billy Joe saying, good morning, guys. Giaga Jeepers, good morning. Daddy Jeep, morning. Peter Pauly from Dominican Republic is saying hi. Jeannie's saying good morning. She got her title work done today, so she's excited.
Outstanding.
They'll have a title in a week, they said. Robert is saying, is it going off the rails like a crazy train, brother? Yes.
a moment
it
of silence for the late, great Ozzy Osbourne.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Bradford saying good morning. Robert saying he did his for reviewing. Roy Hill saying good morning. Sue Ballard saying hi. And Jerry saying, Scott, I love my HF strap.
It's Harbor Freight strap. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Good morning to all of you. Good tidings over the weekend. Lots of good Jeep stuff happening for a lot of our SFJ 4x4 families.
We'll go over those events in just a second.
Well, I'm saying this past weekend, a lot
yeah,
of the
there's-
folks, as far as Jeannie, I know Bradford was enjoying his Jeep. We just recently turned out. Jeannie obviously is inching closer and closer to that full rebuild of Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
So a lot of big stuff. And we'll tell you about some upcoming events. And because we're this far into it, we are going to be talking tech and brakes just so you are aware. So hang in there a little bit longer with us.
So the reviews that we got so far, my favorite Jeep podcast. This is 3 real guys sitting on grandma's old couch in their shop talking about my favorite topic, Jeeps. What you see is
Amen.
what you get. There is no fabrication here. Flat out the best shop around. It is exactly how you would imagine it. Lucky for me, they are only an hour away. I appreciate the best and honest Jeep expertise you will find on any social media platform. Keep the content coming.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Again, in the running for swag and that garbage purple strap that Scott loves so much.
And then the next review we got was fun and educational. Love the podcast. It's fun and educational. I have learned a lot about my Jeep and the mods I wanted to continue doing. I'm a DIY person and find a lot of information provided by these guys very informative.
Excellent. Thank you. And that one goes in as well. I know that there's been a couple of people who responded to the campaign. They're trying to figure out how to leave that review, or they've left us a review on another social media platform. While we appreciate all that, and we will do our due diligence to getting you to leaving that review on Spotify or Audible or whatever, understand that that's where we want the reviews to be. We have Facebook reviews, Google reviews, sending reviews directly to us. Thank you. But we're looking for, in this specific giveaway, this specific fun competition of sorts, we need it on your streaming platform where you are doing your listening.
iTunes, Spotify, Google Cast, any of those, Audible.
Correct. And so make sure that once you do the review that you screenshot it and you email that in directly to us. Contact CONTACT at sfj4x4.com, or you can text that screenshot to us at 440-855-2100. Because I did say I know a number of other reviews kind of popped up on my radar, and thank you for those. But for the purpose of this fun giveaway, it needs to be on your streaming platform. Now, as far as I like to do, I always like to share gifts and interest pieces. We are going to be talking tech here in the near future. Oftentimes I like to recognize gifts and goodies and stuff from, people who contribute positively to the business or to want to reach out and support us in some capacity. This one's actually from my father, who obviously is a tremendous supporter of us and of the business. And this was a kind of personal gift to me. It was pretty cool. It actually is a penny, a nickel, a dime, a quarter, and
$50.
a $50. And these are kind of a collection that are all in a clear case. The coins are displays. I'm not a coin collector necessarily or anything like that, but I can appreciate nostalgia, historical relevancy.
I think you need, because of the historical relevancy, I think you need to show Davey that and see if he can tell you the value of all those coins.
Oh, ouch. Oh, Jeff shooting shots at the Savage this morning. It's going to get you. But you know what's neat about this, folks, is that all of these pieces of currency are from 1941.
Oh, that's fun.
And I was so moved by it because it's such a value-added piece to understand that these coins have been in circulation as long as our Jeeps have been in creation. Mm-hmm. And for me, as authentically as part of, I was called a Jeep nerd over the weekend. I
think that's fair.
I guess it's funny because I don't think it so much. Like, I'm not like self-fulfilling in that sense, but I'm so jazzed up over the fact that somebody, when this coin was minted, the concept of our Jeep was being born. The initial production, the race for the military contract fulfillment was happening. This heavy-weighted World War II experience was gripping our U.S. by the
he's almost speechless.
Yeah,
he is. But I'm
a
he's
history
trying to
junkie.
figure out what he's trying to say. I'm going to jump back to the comments because the Savage just jumped in and commented 25 cents.
No.
He's the worst. Anyways,
We've got,
I
Josh-
appreciated that gift, and so I wanted to share that with our listeners as well.
We got Josh saying good morning and Eric saying good morning as well.
Excellent. Good morning to all of you. Now, before we get into breaks, last couple seconds we want to address coming up in the near future of the kind of the northern Great Lakes, east of the Mississippi region, within a regional affair coming up this first weekend of August.
Is a lot.
A lot. But the big ones that we want to immediately address is going to be Toledo Jeep Festival.
August
Kind of
1st through the 3rd.
Goes back to that 1941 sentiment that I was stumbling over. And so you might want to prioritize, or you should prioritize that. If you are unable, you additionally have the hot summer walks with Daddy Jeep. Hot summer wheeling. Here's the thing. I mean, you could do hot summer girl, whatever that phraseology is, where you're on the beach, or you go wheeling with Rob Morgan. I
Yep.
think you should go wheeling with Rob Morgan.
Yep. You've also got
Daddy Jeep. Just put that out there.
you got Tool City Jeep Jam Saturday, August 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
And then Freedom Crawlers is doing the Connie at Jeep Beach Party August 3rd.
Yes. So there is a lot in the locality. So if you are unable to make the pilgrimage to Toledo, there is a lot for you to do with your Jeep localized.
Daddy Jeep said something like that.
Something like that. Listen, Rob came out and wheeled with us at our fun run last year. I think that
That was a blast.
it was a blast. That the least we can do is rep him out and encourage people. If you don't want to do the Steel City Jeep Jam, which is in Western Pennsylvania, which is a great kind of a poker run inspired treasure hunt, Jeep rally ride.
And you say the least we could do, and that really is the least because we can't ever remember the event name.
Yeah.
I think it's fitting. I think hot summer girl walks with Daddy Jeep is perfectly satisfactory.
Let's put the brakes on and start talking
We're
about
off the
brakes here.
rails. We gotta hit the brakes. Pump the brakes.
So let's talk about the basic systems, Scott. What's drum versus disc brake and a very summary version of this?
No, we can't. This might be one session. This might be two sessions. We don't know, folks. We want to prep that right here and now.
So
We're focused on the current modern brakes for the most part of this episode, but we want you to understand the difference on them.
I mean, we can't not contextualize historically where brakes came from and why they're so darn good on Jeeps now, and yet every Jeep owner is like, my brakes don't work.
So just because it's me and I'm weird. So it started with a block of wood against a wagon wheel.
God bless it.
Wow.
Take your dumb purple strap and go home.
We're
Oh
going
my
to
God.
Jeep brakes. Let's move it to
Jeep brakes. We
So-
never had wagon wheels on our Jeep, Scott.
So then we decided
That's not true. We had wagon
I
wheels.
was gonna say.
Badooch.
So in World War I, it was wagons with blocks of wood against a wagon wheel. So in World War II, we're like, hey, we're going to do better than that.
Yes.
And we're going to do a just huge 9-inch brake
Huge. Huge.
onto
It's the biggest brake you've ever seen.
so big onto your World War II Jeeps. And we're going to make it an improper way for it to go out and work, but it's going to be so much better than that block of wood.
That's true. It really kind of was.
And then we were fine. We only careened sort of into other people up until we decided to make bigger vehicles like
Well,
this.
Jeeps didn't go very fast, right? Let's really put it out there. We all have seen the sped up videos of
and-
them bouncing
And
through
we
their
totally didn't
harshness test.
overload them in World War II and
Wow.
properly haul things any which way. Anyway, so Jeep wasn't empowered to do anything better until really the Jeepster Commando kind of vehicle came out, and they decided, we should probably do a little bit better than that. So they went out with a Bendix style. Before that was Lockheed style, and self-actuating drum brakes. So then
When you say self-actuating, I think it's valuable to understand that.
Okay, so with the old style, basically the shoes just pushed out against the drums, and magic sort of happened until they got hot, and then when they got hot, you careened into the nearest vehicle, tree, or water source.
That tracks.
After that, we went to the Bendix style. Basically, as the shoes go out, they grab the drum, and the drum tries to keep turning, which drags the shoes along, which therefore wedges them into the drum, which means they self-brake. They
Correct.
self-actuate.
So
you just need something to get them going.
Those very
Self-energizing.
initial, the military style, and then ultimately the earliest civilian style of sorts, were a lot of like little push rods and fixed pivot points.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes. And
And
they worked okay if you constantly adjusted them so that you had the minimal clearance between the shoe and the drum.
I think that
you
that's
got them not hot.
I think that's valuable to share with our listening audience is that back at that time, and I had this conversation with one of our current customers who has a vehicle, Jeep of the 50s. At that time, in the 40s or 50s, and go back as far as the 20s, if you were lucky enough to own an automobile,
Mm-hmm.
you did not drive it like we do today.
No.
You did not put the miles on it that we do today. You did not travel the speed. Our vehicles of that vintage, certainly our Jeep vehicles, went 40 and maybe 48 miles per hour downhill with a stiff wind at their back.
And that was really pushing it. And I'll go out on a limb and say 2 months, you might use it for amount we do in a week.
Correct. And ultimately, what would happen is that it was so impactful that you owned an automobile. We're so far away from this as Western civilization because owning an automobile almost feels like an entitlement by today's standards, especially if you're a vehicle person. You don't just own one, you own like 7, you know?
Easy over there.
I think everybody should own 7. But that's beside the point. You owned the one, and then you went out and you worked on it on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon. It's really more so 'cause Sunday you're supposed to be Sabbathing. You would go out and you would maintenance and you would tweak and you would fine tune, and your brakes were one of those things that you were supposed to check. It was in that service manual, and you were supposed to get in there and adjust and maintain, much like your valve lash. And I can darn near guarantee that out of our listening audience, if there's, if we break it down to the lowest common denominator,
Wow.
English is hard.
denominator, that if there's 100 of you listening, maybe one of you knows what adjusting your valve lash looks like.
Yes.
And at that point in time, that was what you knew how to do.
And does that one have filler gauges?
I don't know. But that's the thing
I would
is,
think so. I would think if you still know how to do that, you have feeler gauges.
but that's what you were supposed to do when you owned the vehicle. You went out and you adjusted your valve lash into the internals of your engine, and you adjusted your brakes for appropriate braking. We don't do that. We don't do that as a society. That is cast off into, yesteryear. All right, so now we have self-actuating.
Yep. So that worked okay for a while until Jeeps got a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger. We decided to put V8s in them
Want to go a little faster. Give me the power.
because America. So that this made disc brakes kind of a thing. Now, disc brakes originally came out to my knowledge, on aircraft because they were more efficient. They also run cooler. They also shed mud a lot nicer than drum brakes. Drum brakes kind of pack it in there, and then when you don't take them apart and adjust them and clean them, then they refuse to work.
Yep.
And that happened about, honestly, the early 70s, mid 70s or so. That pushed us all the way into the 90s, pretty much in that relative fashion, where disc in the front, drum in the rear, until really the TJ. And then they decided, you know what, it's been a good run. Let's put discs all the way around.
Now, just a fun fact. You said the TJ. When or which model of TJ did they start that with?
If I had to guess, the Rubicon.
It was the Rubicon.
So, anywho's, because
Good
of
call.
that mud stuff. But anyway, we went with a solid rotor in the rear, and we went with a vented in the front. For those that don't know what that is, basically the earliest disc brakes were just a chunk of iron with 2 pads on either side, and when they got hot, just you said hope and a prayer about it. On a little bit further, then we like, hey, if we spread them apart and we put fins in there, then air can get in there and help cool them down. Heat is the enemy of all brakes, does not discriminate. So anyway, so then we had a solid rotor in the rear, had a vented in the front. That pretty much got us all the way through the JK line. The same way we did get bigger. And then we finally get into the JL where they get even bigger, multiple pistons, which is what actuates the pad into the rotor on all disc brakes. So if one is good, then like 6 are better.
Multiples must be better. Brembos.
Yes. And we haven't enjoyed this technology, but now that at this point they're playing with different materials for rotors, carbon's been used, that kind of stuff to continue it on. But we're Jeeps, so we're always behind.
Yes. Yes. And it is important to note that the timeline that Scott has outlined with you is specific to the Jeep world, but it is only relative to the automotive world as a whole, because quite frankly, there is a number of vehicles that moved to disc brakes at 4 corners in the late 60s, early 70s, honestly. And so
Corvettes had them in the early 60s. I know a couple other cars in the mid 60s that had front discs. Again, they were solid, not vented.
correct.
But Jeeps are always behind.
And as you said, it was late 70s for the CJ to start the front disc brake.
Yep.
Not even 4 corners, front.
And I'm
Correct.
guaranteeing
We weren't
you
4 corners until after 2002,
There-
realistically.
there was a farmer somewhere complaining because they took away his front drum brakes.
Well, and so I think that I want to stand on my mountain at this moment, my soapbox of sorts, and dispel a myth that you and we kind of bought into years ago, and then we realized, and when I say that, we bought into it as novices, and then as we continued our path into the expert industry level, to understand that actually drum brakes that are appropriately installed, functioning, and within an appropriate setting and utilization actually can work better than some disc brakes.
Yes.
And that just because it is disc does not inherently mean that it is better. And I think that I'm
we
very
grew-
confident in saying that.
We grew up in an era, and especially my dad was guilty of empowering me to think this. We disked the world.
Yes.
Our hot rods, we were doing disc swaps. We were doing disc swaps on our XJs in the back.
Yep.
Well, it's because they're easier to service and easier, more convenient, it's faster.
But are they?
So the funny thing is that there's actually a population of old school garage shade tree mechanic who would tell you that drums are easier to service. And I recognize where your statement is coming from 100%, right? Because I would personally agree with you, right? But I think it's it's conversation of the carbureted Chevy 350.
Yeah.
Because it became a known entity,
Right.
they were just like, drums are easier and I can just do drums. And arguably at a DIY level, it is always kind of humorous to say that that's one of the ones that we still fight the uphill battle of people being like, oh, I'll just do my own brakes, right? That it is ingrained in the American spirit that we as the average automobile owner should just do our own brakes.
And really, where drums get hurt the worst in our climate specifically is we don't think about things until they squeal, grind, bang, clang, or don't work anymore.
Yes, sir.
And when we think about our drum brakes needing service, the drum is seized to the hub.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The shoes have made a boot lip the size of the shoes,
Mm-hmm.
so they won't come off. The adjuster's rusted solid, so you can't back it off. And then you destroy the brakes in their entirety getting the drum off.
It sounds
Correct.
like you just made my case for it being easier to service rotors.
So when we run into people that haven't taken their wheels off in 25,000 miles, which is no joke,
It's true.
and you use a pry bar to get the tires and wheels off the vehicle, yes, now that you've gained access to that, now the discs are easier to, because you're looking at them.
Sure.
You don't have the drum in the way. And I will say discs are a little bit nicer on a dually, but, we haven't had one of those in a Jeep in a minute. Darn it,
Mm-hmm.
mothership.
Mm-hmm. hear us out.
Scott wants a Jeep
My plea.
dually.
I want a Jeep dually so bad.
That would be fun.
I was really doing that for Neil.
That's me. It's my dream.
I'll be
in some
honest,
capacity.
I'd want it too.
Oh yeah, you would.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would. So I mean, and so ultimately, as brakes have progressed in their come up, we get away from the rod actuation, that push rod piece.
I mean, thankfully, Jeep never had that. We were always hydraulic.
Oh, and
Thankfully.
you're talking about the actuation, and I understand that. Where I can have misspoken and not been articulate enough for our listening audience. I'm not talking about the push rod coming down the frame rail or to the axle itself. I'm talking the internal rods instead of self-actuating.
Oh, okay.
Right? You're right. Automobiles did have push rod brakes at one time.
Yes.
Jeep has always had hydraulic actuation. So understand that ultimately, and we should actually break down how that system functions of sorts, getting to, as far as that hydraulic pressures, getting to the actual brake rotor pad material, the friction material itself. But we go from a kind of an inefficient rod push process in the 9-inch brakes. We get a slightly bigger of the 10-inch brakes. Eventually, we get into 11-inch drum brakes.
Yep.
11-inch drum brakes on a CJ work beautifully, folks. Great upgrade.
With them adjusted properly.
With them
done, they
adjusted
will
properly
put you
and
through the
proper
windshield.
fluid flow. And all of that material aside, at that time, we get this increased efficiency in utilization. The material itself that brakes were made out of, the friction material, was such that there was asbestos in brakes.
Yeah, from
right.
the 40s to the 60s.
We, as a
And actually-
society, loved asbestos. It was going to change the world. It
was
did,
good
not
for
the better.
everything almost at that time. And the problem really with brakes is as we keep finding material that work well, we also decide it's going to kill us.
Yes.
Starting
that's-
with the asbestos.
And the asbestos was heat resistant, which is why it was such a good product for
Yes.
brakes at the time.
And it's also important to note, back in the day, you didn't go to your local box store and buy some shoes in a box and go home and put them on. You took your brakes apart. You took the old lining and rivets off. You went over to your roll of lining. You had your riveter
Yep.
in the corner of the shop. You cut it to length. You poked holes in it. You put rivets through it, and you cinched them on. And then you had, if you're really pushing it, then you went ahead and made it match the radius of the drum with a grinder. Loving that asbestos dust there, right there off the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put them back on.
You imagine that, folks? You literally just relined your shoes.
Yes.
That was a phrase in the historical automotive community. I promise you, it's being written somewhere in a forum or on a social page somewhere, and there is a person who's absolutely in love with their Jeep, who has been on multiple adventures, who follows all the YouTube influence, has subscribed, has watched, has done, who does not know what relining their shoes meant. They saw that phrase and they're like, well, what is that?
And
that's what that is. You literally put the material, the friction material, onto the hard, skeleton of the shoes.
And for a long time, there was core charge on shoes, and they would reline them off somewhere else.
Right.
It was just not your local garage around the corner.
Right.
Now, when asbestos, the government realized it's bad for you, EPA steps in the 70s and the 80s. Do you know which material was next?
What they went to?
What they
After
went to after asbestos?
I would have to guess. This is just,
I
guessing.
like
Yeah,
it. Yeah, go ahead. We'd love to hear that.
Would be the metallic
No.
brakes.
No.
Okay, interesting.
We went to non-asbestos organics.
I was
so
gonna say.
NAOs.
Oh, really? Organic
That would
was
make
first.
sense.
Organic was first. Yep.
Huh.
That would make sense because obviously we're away from NAOs at this point as well, and we're into
Yes.
semi-metallics because we go to metallics after NAOs.
Yep. Semi-metallics became popular in the 90s and the 2000s.
That was all
on
the
Jeeps,
trend.
specifically on
And my
Jeeps. I don't know.
dad
Yes.
hated them because it made dust on his wheels.
Yes.
Yep. And then so from there you went from semi-metallic to the early 2000s through today, where you have the ceramic pads for the quieter and cleaner performance.
And it's something that we honestly learned not that long ago. the reason why they're going away from the metallic and what the metallics are made out of is because yet again they were bad.
Yes.
There was copper
Copper was the
This is
main.
the primary one.
was in the pads, and because of
The
it's a
particulate.
resource
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that is
and
hard to
it's
get.
environmental concerns because it's toxic to aquatic life.
Yep.
Now, here's where it gets really fun. It's the Better Brakes Law, but this was in 2010. California and Washington passed the Better Brakes Law, and that impacted a national level. This is not a federal law. This is not a national law. This is California and Washington. In 21, that law required that copper is less than or equal to 5% within that semi-metallic. As of 2025, which is where we saw the big change in brake pads, it was less than or equal to 0.5% copper.
Because
And-
we suddenly, as an industry, started watching our pads not last, having lots of problems with them. Braking wasn't quite what we were expecting them to be from what we've grown up around.
But think about that impact that 2 states passed this law, and it is affecting us all the way across the country.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that what they're doing instead of coppers are replacing it with graphite, iron, and steel fibers. That means more brake dust.
100%.
You're
And
seeing way more brake dust.
Now, I will mention that ceramic pads, and again, our conversation is specific about Jeeps. Also, as just like a intrusive head thought, we should have had in a pre-production notes. We should have mentioned that, like, we should have had like a noise every time that we talk about heat and brakes. We should have like had a little like crackling or a screechy noise, something. You know what I mean? Because again.
We can
The
always
brake-
add that in post-production
Oh,
for
boy.
the listeners.
Yeah.
Honestly, when they took our copper away from our brake pads, what we started having was noisy brakes.
Well, true that. But the thing is that this conversation about heat being the ultimate downfall of braking systems, if we were to go back to some of those earlier materials, the organics specifically sticks out in my head, that potentially, and this is why you would see runaway ramps on steep declines. You would there was a whole conversation about how you would pump your brakes so as not to overheat them, because ultimately you would get to the point where the material would overheat, and then simply the brake system would cease to work.
Well, and the only industry that's further behind than Jeeps
It's
is
the trucking
semis.
industry. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it makes sense. You
Yeah.
know, millions of miles a year, it's fine.
Yes.
Anyway, so they only recently, in the last 10 years, would you say, disc brakes?
Yeah. 10 to 15
Yeah.
as a cross the board, right? These
Yeah.
are generalizations as far as getting away from massive drums. And of course those drums were massive and they function well, but again, you're only as good as the materials that you're using in the process.
And I literally have a friend that works on big trucks, and he hates the new disc brakes because, of course,
Change is hard.
change is hard.
Yes. And so, as the materials change, so have our driving habits, so has our infrastructure for the roads and the roadways. And that's where this, again, as a student of history, I love how there's these signs of what our country once was as we took road trips across it.
100%. I mean, we're not that old, and I remember a time where it was like, 70 or 72 miles an hour on the freeway.
Was max.
That's nuts.
Nuts.
Right.
And now, if you're not doing like 75, you're getting ran over,
100%.
and they're doing 80 plus.
Actually, as registered speed limits.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, which is so fascinating, of course. But ultimately, as ceramics start to come out in the late 90s and then into the 2000s, it was that same kind of uncomfortable conversation about what is this newfangled technology.
Yep.
And the big thing that we used to do as a talking point was the immediacy of a ceramic in comparison to a metallic or semi-metallic, is that a ceramic was not as effective. Cold to cold stop. A ceramic was not as effective as a metallic or semi-metallic. And that was a talking point, and that was something we shared, and that's why this conversation around, ceramics was why you didn't put them on your average daily driven vehicle, so on and so forth. The concept with ceramic is that the hotter they get, air quotes, the better they work. And that was what we were told or sold as a talking point in the industry. Now, I think that the conversation about that initial cold stop is that's a waste of breath, in my opinion, by today's standard.
I agree, and I do have the pros and cons of each one broken down. If we wanted to go into that, there's different purposes for each of these brakes too.
And that's what I was gonna share as far as the nature, and we can get into those technical specifications. Is that don't be afraid of ceramics, right?
Yeah.
That was a talking point that was shared to differentiate what Jeff and I are internally here at SFJ will call the large popcorn sales pitch.
Yep.
That basically you have good, better, best, and how would you differentiate those things to the average consumer? It's null and void. Ceramics is just the wave of the future, and it's just
really
today's acceptable
at this
material.
stage in the game. It's not so much the design of the brakes anymore. Right now, it's the material they're made out of. If you go and you buy a cheap rotor, for example, it's going to have more recycled material. It's going to have more rust inside of it. We see a shorter lifespan out of them because they literally are falling apart from internal problems. Versus you go and you buy a high quality rotor, it's going to last a long time. Same way with the pads. You go and you get a cheap set of pads, you're going to see a shorter lifespan, less appropriate braking. So I would say the last 70 years, we've been upgrading design, where really the last 30 years, we're just what kind of material is everything made out of?
Well, and I will go to where the concept of where it's manufactured and how we receive it as the end user is also one of those things that we can't lose sight of, because the conversation about cheap warping rotors was one that we had to throw around all the time in the 90s and early 2000s. And is my own personal belief that just within the last 15 or so years have we gotten this increase in high quality import manufacturing. And so you can actually buy a cheaper rotor and it not immediately warp on you from that heat related issues. Now it becomes the material conversation of whether or not how long it's going to last.
Yep.
Or how much dust and gunk is it going to throw on your wheels and your rotating assembly. So I think that we went from it warping and being junk right out of the box. Now it's being manufactured decently overseas. Now it's when we do a set of pads and rotors, our expectation is that you should be getting 3+ years out of them, average driving style.
And a good example of this is, it's a little off topic, but I have a 68 C10, has 71 disc brakes on the front of it because Dad wanted to disc brake the world. They are the original rotors.
Sure.
From 1971. And they are fine.
Yes.
They don't rust up. When it sits, you just one little light brake and it's clean. If you went, I don't care, newest, bestest, most expensive rotor, and you let that thing sit as much as I let that thing sit, they would be straight garbage.
Yes. Totally locked up, per se.
And it's really the material the cast iron is made out of.
And so that, while manufacturing tolerances have increased and the machines they're made on are better, it's the longevity, it's the wearability, those types of things will make the difference by today's standards. Yeah. Jeff, I think that for succinctness, I would love for you to run through that as far as our disc materials, and arguably it will have some to do with our shoe materials, though shoes have less variety in them. But let's run through those specifications for our listeners.
So the semi-metallic pads, I would argue, is probably the most common used on Jeeps right now.
Yep.
And that is has a good heat resistance, it's good for off-roading, and it's good for towing. As a con, it's noisy, dusty, and hard on rotors. And that is, you can do things to make them a little bit quieter, you can get better quality ones, but inherently they are the noisier brake
This
pad.
is that splitting hairs, that minutia, right? I was talking
Right.
about the whole cold stop comparisons, right? This is the stuff when we're really doing deep dives, folks.
You get into the ceramic pads, and you've got a quieter, lower dust. It's great for daily use, but it's not ideal for extreme off-road, and it's a higher cost. You go into your organics.
Real quick, that one, I feel like I remember a lot of a talking point was that it was good for towing applications.
Yeah.
Ceramics, as that tow application, that heavier abuse of kind of long sustained stopping.
Yep.
Ceramic was not going to
It doesn't wear as fast.
wear and fail as fast.
Yep. Then you've got your organics or the NAO pads. They're quieter. They give you a softer pedal feel. The cons is that they wear fast and they're very poor under load.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to the fully metallic, and this is track use only. They're too aggressive for trailer street, so maybe the Trackhawks probably use fully metallic. I would have to venture a guess at. I don't know that factually.
I would think it would be specifically set up for track use. If
I
you're
was
gonna
gonna
do
say-
any street driving.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think we can find a fully metallic for your average consumer anymore. I
'Cause
believe that
basically you're machining on the vehicle.
right.
right. I think your fully metallic is your actual race car applications.
Right.
And-
Because,
and-
again, it's way too aggressive for regular.
And honestly, I think that's starting to go away because of the different materials the rotors are made out of now.
I would agree.
And I think that it is well worth noting that you were talking about your 71 rotors and the composition of those rotors. And a quick mention: Jaga Jeepers says he used to do a lot of resurfacing of rotors in the 80s and 90s. I agree, and we used to be able to resurface our rotors. That
Yeah.
they didn't wear down, they didn't exactly groove out as fast as our today's modern rotor technology did. So did our drums. Our drums were surfaceable as far as the shoe surface was concerned. And factually, Chuck Norris, I actually, because of what those were and
Yeah.
those rotors were equally from the 70s and 80s. I actually had those fully resurfaced as well when we were building the tons out for those axles. And of course, that Jeep is disked front and rear as well because
That's what
we
we
should
were.
disc the world.
The Kool-Aid
I-
we were sipping.
I
Right.
remember the first time I went to get a set of rotors turned, and the shop was like, "Yeah, we don't do that anymore." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't do that anymore?"
Right.
And they're like, "They're too thin. They're too cheaply made.
Yeah.
They're by the time you turn them down, there's no longevity left in them, and it's dangerous."
I mean, just from
so we won't do it.
perspective,
And it threw me off because I was so used to that concept.
on my 36, just because we talk about it so much on this channel, the drums that are on that car are not reproduced. So that
Isn't that
literally
interesting?
means that the front drums are from 1937
Yes.
and the rears are from older than that, the original drums,
That's cool.
1936.
That's cool.
So the only thing that's going to take them out of the game is being too thin.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not the composition. It's not them rusting out. The iron that's in those 30s parts.
Right.
We
It's
can't
such a
even-
high compound.
Yeah.
Well, and what the other thing that's going to take them out, and here's my own. I know we're kind of bouncing around a little bit as far as we're following our outline to the best of our ability, but my own, again, that social industrial feel vibe is what's going to take them out is we lose the ability, the machines to actually do the work, and the people who have the knowledge to do the
100%.
work, because literally just in the nature of this business, we were able to resurface brakes.
Every local box store, I remember, not that long ago, early 2000s, had a brake lathe.
Yep.
And they could do drums or discs. And then it started getting to the point where they didn't want to do drums or didn't know how to
Yes.
do drums. It wasn't the fact they didn't have the equipment. The tech literally didn't know how to do it.
Correct. The people at the register, that knowledge base was going away.
And now I would venture to say if they do have a machine, it's sitting with 10 inches of dust on it,
Yes.
or that's been removed because of space constraints.
Half the tech, if not all of them, don't even know what that machine's for.
Correct. And there's literally techs today graduating mechanics that don't know how to do a drum brake
Yeah,
because there's really almost no need for them to know that.
that's correct. Go ahead.
No, I was just it's a fascinating concept of where these brakes come from, and realistically, we're just kind of down the nitty gritty of the functionality of brakes. We haven't even got into kind of big brake upgrades and what our user experience is, because of course as we track that original 9-inch brake, that originally conceptualized Jeep was very light. It had a light, by comparison to what was going on. It had a 4-cylinder engine.
Yep.
It had a small transmission, good sized transfer case, smaller axles by comparison.
And weight requirement was one of the things that the military said they wanted. And the crazy part is as light as a little flat fender is, if I remember right, it was overweight by their spec
It was.
and over horsepower by their spec.
I believe so. and ultimately,
And
the rotating mass of the wheel tire combo was nominal,
Yeah.
right? And so that's really the thing where the brakes, that was an appropriate enough setup for the vehicle.
And again, really the enemy of that was heat, and that's why you see they went from 9 to 10 to 11. The more surface area you have, the more surface you have to have that heat dissipated by. You have a little bit more
friction material to
friction
grab.
material to grab, so it works better, which is why
We're
we
not having
saw
that concentrated heat.
our 11s being in Willie's trucks, Willie's wagons. The open top Jeeps were lighter. We usually were a little bit smaller. I mean, go back to the 36 literally has 12-inch drum brakes.
Right.
So
Well, and think about how massive that is in comparison.
Comparative,
You know?
yeah.
And that's a 30s versus we didn't get to 11-inch brakes until the 70s in
correct.
Jeeps.
And
Always behind.
We've talked about, we talked about the pad material. We talked about the basics between disc and rotors.
Oh, I
but
didn't
then-
finish my stock.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
go
you
on.
were getting. You can't transition me away. The original 9-inch was correct for the size and design of the Jeep. Then we put a bunch of GIs in it. Then we put a machine gun in it. Then we put ammunition in it.
And then we hooked the trailer to it.
And we hooked the trailer to it, and it became insufficient. That is always the issue that you're going to run into as we move towards modern day and we move towards more fluids and chemicals and how those brake systems are going to work, right? We spend a lot of time on the size, capacity, heat dissipation, but the issue is how we're actually using our Jeeps.
And that's where we're going to have to do another episode that will go into the brake fluid, the brake lines, aftermarket upgrades. We'll talk about some myths, and we'll even talk about the brakes by numbers for what sizes Jeeps are using.
I think that is a wonderful idea. Again, I love the concept here. I know we talk about brakes. I do want to leave you with a bit of a teaser for next week, but again, as a number of people who still believe that that Jeeps are an average DIY experience, right? And ultimately, it's born from some of this historical context that we've shared with you. Are you aware that you are supposed to, after you've done your initial install, you are supposed to get your Jeep up to race speeds? And then when you're doing race speeds, you need to slam on the brakes in such an uncomfortable manner possible that you bring that Jeep all the way down to about 15 miles per hour or under.
Yeah.
And when you do that, your wife yells at you.
And traffic's honking at you.
and
It's
traffic's
fine.
honking and so on and so forth.
Uh,
I will explain to you what that is. The other little thing
I got a fun.
The other little thing is I'm going to tell you what the 2-to-1 rule is that absolutely changed within the Wrangler platform.
I'm going to talk about .5.1 fluid in Jeeps.
So there is a bunch of stuff that the historical context that we broke down. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about the materials and the size and so on and so forth.
Gee, I got
Such a
Jeeper
state.
Hertz. What's the race speed? 45?
Race
You'll find out
speeds.
next week.
Race speeds. Folks, there was a hotbed of conversation today. Now, we say next week, but you know what? We might be flexible. We'll depend on, how the spirit moves us. It's a busy weekend, so we'll see what next week. But I can promise you within the next couple of weeks, we will finish up this
That's fair.
conversation. And so you'll want to make sure you hang in there, tune in, and get checked out on what these episodes are. But while you are enjoying these episodes, prioritize leaving that review so that you get entered into our great review swag giveaway and Scott's most favoritist, worthless, super valuable purple strap giveaway.
Thanks for
that's
reminding me. I have
happening.
to go hoard some.
Yeah.
Or they take them away again.
No doubt.
Neil bought them all. It's too late.
Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Okay, so the disclaimer. We really don't plan it this way, but I spent all weekend putting disc brakes on my kid's go-kart.
That's hilarious.
You know what? Sometimes
You didn't even know what the topic was because we didn't
Nope.
tell you.
You know what? It's sometimes, people, I guess it's luck, it's serendipity, it's God's divine intervention. I don't know.
Something.
Just works out.
But basically, we have a Yerf Dog spider box is actually what it's called for the go-kart nerds out there. And it was made,
I'm going to say the Yerf dog?
Yeah, Yerf Dog was a manufacturer
yeah,
out of the 90s and 2000s.
out of the 90s and
'Cause
2000s.
Nerf wasn't good enough, so they had to go Yerf.
Well,
Yes.
it's not turf, yard. And they mixed yard and turf together for Yerf. And Yerf Dog was this brand. Remember how it was not Traxxas? What's the Axial? Axial popped up as this leading brand all of a sudden of these import RC vehicles.
Yep.
And everybody who was anybody had to run out and buy the name brand Axial. It's like one of those things that
Yeah.
there were go-karts, right? I mean, you're Coleman, you're this, you're that, whatever.
I would say most of them before that, aside from the Coleman, were I got some gas pipe and we stick welded it in the
Oh,
backyard.
the go-kart race of the 70s
Yes.
Oh.
was a thing.
Such a fun
Like,
industry.
popular
to look
mechanics
into.
would tell you how to build it out of your gas pipe.
Yes.
And you were going over to your dad's buddy's place to weld it together, that kind of stuff. Yerf Dog, I'll say, is kind of the first mainstream.
Commercialized.
You could go to a box store and buy it and be riding around that afternoon. So it was, I would say, early 90s all the way to 2000s, like Neil said. And the Spider Box was the one that you went and drooled on.
It was the creme de la creme.
and then you bought the cheaper, no suspension.
The funny
one.
thing is, so the twofold. One, I know where that you got this from,
Yep.
right? And I know that they were ripping around the yard using it, and then you promptly bought it. And as what we do with everything,
It's-
we disassembled it
Take it apart and then sit it in the yard
for 3 years.
for 3 years.
So, so I recognize that, right? But I'd forgotten about, and then I saw your picture updates, and I love your renewed sense of completion for your child, right? I support you so wholly, putting some of your own personal projects. I salute your sacrifice in this situation because I know what that means to us as project-oriented individuals. But anyways, I was scrolling your pictures. Must have just been this morning when my kind of how I get ready for the day, and I saw your son sitting in it. And I was like, oh, he's got the big one. I didn't remember that. You know what I mean? But as a purveyor of engines and tires,
we fit.
I know we do. I saw him in it, and I was like, oh, buddy, Uncle Neil fits.
Yeah. We had mom stuffed in it.
I'm rooting for Aiden at this point.
So anyway, we, of course, we've learned some things, and we're, I'm a fabricator and hot rod builder. So I look at this little go-kart, and I'm like, well, they could do this better. We could do that better. It had the tiniest little wheels stock for how big the go-kart is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, their claim to fame then was independent suspension.
Yes.
Had a sticker for that.
Well, it's because when that one was being built, Polaris was revolutionizing the world with IFS and IRS.
Yes.
And it was a big push in the power sports industry.
Yeah.
I was there. I remember.
And it had disc brake on the rear. It
Yep.
had GY6 150cc basically moped motor on the back. That promptly blew up when we got it.
That's kind of undersized by today's standards. 150
Really
cc.
is.
Good size motor, but a little undersized.
Yeah.
It would still rip, though. I mean, 20, 30 miles per hour.
So,
With those small tires?
we have problems with small tires as Jeep enthusiasts.
Yes.
So I wanted something more appropriate for the size of the go-kart.
course.
Do you suffer from inchitis?
So now it has 25-inch tall ATV
Heyo.
wheels and tires, which I was like, that little brake on the back now doesn't seem quite as
Right?
adequate.
That's fitting for today's conversation.
And it had just literally a bolt for a spindle in the front. I was like, nah, that doesn't fit. So we bought him a disc brake kit from some overseas supplier because that's where all go-kart stuff is made. And I quickly realized they were not going to work, so I chopped them all up and just used the spindle specifically portion. And then we welded that into some DOM tube because why not? And then we welded that into the factory spindle, and then we made a caliper bracket off some 1/4-inch plate. And I actually kind of did the whole gamut. I started the first one with the plasma cutter and grinder, and then I realized I have a milling machine over there, and what the heck am I doing? So I trued it all up on the mill. And the second one, I pretty much just milled, and man, does it come out a lot nicer when you use your machines you bought. So
Giaga Jeepers said that he's got loads of cart parts next time. Hit him up.
Oh,
who knew?
who knew?
Right?
So anyway, so we actually got the mock-up. Brakes are on for good. We need hoses. Wheels are on. We were over here sweating bullets, putting his used tires onto his new wheels because offsets were all wrong. I mean, it's a Jeep project, all just smaller.
Sure.
And we got our Victory sit in it and make vroom vroom noises last night.
That's awesome.
So
And I love that Scott and I had a conversation about this last week, and again, it's why I affirm him, and I affirm all of you who are listening who have endeavored into any type of improvement project. Scott had a realization that his son has been patiently waiting and dreaming about what this go-kart will be like.
Yep.
He's used birthday monies and monies that he's earned in the process to buy parts.
Yep.
He's been gifted parts for different holidays and
Yep.
special occasions. And so, you having this realization that you didn't want your child to have a negative association with projects.
Yep.
And the value of completing a project is we understand that it's a long, arduous, sometimes painful road,
And he's definitely learned that change one thing, you change five. You think you have a sweet idea, and next thing you realize the gravity of that project now is kind of when you're like rip the wall out of your house, and now you realize, well, now I have to do something about that.
Right.
Was this go-kart to its entirety, and I didn't want him to feel like every project just never ends.
Sure.
And you never get to finish it and actually enjoy your labor. I don't, even if it's just a hot lap around the yard before it breaks, that's at least a good feeling that, hey, I got to accomplish this.
Yeah.
So we've kind of just went all in, and we're going to, one way or another, get him to be able to ride it before he goes back to school. So that is the goal. And the plus side is it's hotter than all get outside, so I'm not wanting to do anything with the building because I'm melting to death.
Right.
And my garage is AC, so
Yeah, I commend you on that one
Yeah.
for doing the hard push. Jeff, anything for you, or you want me to go? Or?
Well, I went to Prescal Beer on the Bay. That was a whole nother thing. You should tune into our upcoming episode from the American Hustle to learn about that. We'll just leave
And
it
you
at that.
attended that for your nonprofit,
For the nonprofit.
which has a large event coming up
Yeah.
in the very near future.
Yep, about a month away at this point. We're
Mhm.
getting real close. And then, of course, because of that, I spent most of Sunday building the training materials for the volunteers and working on that training video. So that was pretty much my weekend.
I think the big takeaway for Jeff's weekend update is twofold. One, go check out the American Hustle. You're going to start to get some insight into some of the unique factors that make SFJ 4x4 so uniquely us. If you love the automotive content, if you enjoy the infotainment, that kind of stuff, and you're like, how can these goofballs also run this business? The American Hustle podcast is going to start to enlighten you a little bit. Now, this most recent episode is really us just kind of unpacking some of Jeff's experience and where he saw that there could be some potential improvements.
yes.
But also, Jeff talks a lot about his experience starting and running the nonprofit. Again, that event is going to be Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend, August 30th and 31st.
In Erie, Pennsylvania. It's a independent music festival.
Yes.
And it is in memoriam of a great community-minded individual your cousin and friend.
Yep, and it's a competition, so they're bringing their best. You're going to have over 40 artists performing, 40
So
different bands.
If you're into the indie music scene and you want to have a cool reason to get out there and enjoy the community as a whole, this will be one that you can look forward to on a long weekend. Myself, I am in the hyper focused, goal oriented. I had spoken out into the universe. I'm going to have my water lines in. I'm backhoeing. I'm trenching. This idea, this conversation of being able to do it yourself and understand what's actually transpiring. Frost line is relative to each area that we live in as a society. So we are a 48-inch burial depth for water where we're at in our zone.
Yeah, because I think the frost line is set at 42, so 48 is your burial depth.
Right, and so for my water line, but I'm also using the same trench space to run my fiber lines as well for high-speed internet eventually, and then my tracer wire. And it's about kind of continuing a growth mindset for me. I found my initial foray, my initial push into backhoe work to be mind-numbing and frustrating. I shared that internally. I eventually recognized that I could do a couple things. One, I could be listening to audiobooks, podcasts, music, inspirational, stuff. Also, I could challenge myself to dig certain, aspects of control with my
Or she did.
my bucket apparatus.
Well,
and
yeah, you got to
whatnot.
make it a game.
And I really attempted to, or am attempting to understand, how can I find that silver lining? How can I make the best of this situation?
Not only that, him and Jen are super competitive, and Jen's been running the backhoe. So now it's going to be, I dug 4 feet in 2.5 seconds. And
Scott, get out of my freaking brain, because at this point in time,
That's what I heard happening.
Jen
too.
was supposed to be running the backhoe, but for those of you who are close enough to, for us, and maybe if you follow along close enough, my wife's been having some health-related issues this summer, and so she has not been able to run the backhoe as much as she had planned to do. And because I had spoken some specific goals out into the universe, this water line was going to be in July was my thing, and so, but now, and of course, a concept that I personally was exposed to as a football athlete in high school, something that our coach hammered into us was called the JOP. JOP stands for jump on pile. And for those of you who are, into the athletic realm, when you tackle somebody, you're on defense and you tackle somebody, your name gets recorded. It's like getting a bucket, an assist in basketball, an RBI in baseball. You helped. You get your name recorded, right? And as an athlete, getting your name recorded for doing something, substantial within a play, yeah, that's part of that competitive edge, that incentivization. So realistically, a JOP is the fact that you actually didn't do too much work.
You just jumped on the pile.
But you jumped on the pile before the whistle was blown, and therefore your name, number, and accreditation do technically get recorded.
Yep.
Right? It was a way to harass somebody who just got a JOP, right? Oh, Scott, yeah, you really got a JOP because you swung the paintbrush one time.
Yep.
Because even though, you wired the whole vehicle and you did everything, I put the wipers on, so I get a little bit of credit.
It was me building the studio and Davey coming and hanging the sign.
There you go.
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go, right? JOP. Now, the beauty of my wife is that she is, intrinsically intertwined with me spiritually, right? And so she recognized the value of the reference of JOP. And she, because I have done hundreds of feet of trenching at this point,
She had to dig the last couple feet.
she needs to dig the last couple feet because she's coming in for that JOP. Yeah, she has been referencing it left and right, so she's getting her JOP on that waterline burial in July. But I have all the respect for people who are operators and can really kind of practice their craft, and that's just me as a person. I appreciate anybody who excels, who doesn't just go through the motions, who does not inherently accept complacency.
Right.
like Jeff and I were talking about in the American Hustle podcast, but who find ways to be better given any circumstance they find themselves in. So
did you get the water line done?
I've literally down to the last 30 to 40 feet of JOP and
Oh, so another 15
natural
hours
tap.
and it might be done.
Oof. You're telling me, man. You're telling me.
Real fast, Daddy Jeep says, Daddy Jeep's hot summer days of wheeling will be catered by Junior Smoky Barbecue Friday night. Or JR Smoky
Ooh.
Barbecue. I don't know if it's
It
Junior or
just
JR.
got better.
Yeah.
So there you
Where?
go.
But where?
But
I need you have about 20 seconds to tell us where it's going to be this
you type that
barbecue
fast?
joint. And then
Oh,
you
at
know-
SOR. I just had to scroll. He told us where.
Jeff. So we had that.
So
and
Southington, if you don't know what SOR stands
Yep.
for.
So if
Southington
you
Off-Road.
the camping and aspect of that experience for a hot summer girl walk wheeling with Daddy Jeep.
Now with barbecue.
Now with barbecue.
There you go.
And Daddy Jeeps was a former barbecue chef himself, so I bet it's going to be banging all together. All right, and I just, other than that, I had a great family filled weekend enjoying our coastal relationship with Lake Erie. As I hope that all of you find ways to, as summer seems like it's going to come to an end, I hope you find ways to stretch it as much as humanly possible. Enjoy these few weeks of kind of the peak of summer experience with the vegetables and the fruits coming out and festivals and all that kind of stuff. Really,
that is his barbecue.
there we go. That's what I thought. And so, I hope that you guys get out and attend events, Jeep events, wheeling, road rallies, shows, all this stuff, and that you really can kind of live life to the fullest through this great Jeep life that we have. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.